Today I decided to do a brief video review of one of the Edelbrock carburetor clones which are increasingly available. Briefly, I have been turning a wrench for over 40 years and have rebuilt carburetors of pretty much all makes and models. I will attempt to be unbiased. Bear with me as I will pause the video between operations. This one was sold under the Royal Air brand name. Under first examination, it appears to be a reasonable clone. All carbs need tuned due to application. This one comes with pretty much everything you need to attempt to tune it to your vehicle. There are a few features I like. It has the ability to put a fuel line into each float bowl. You see here, this side has a plug in it. And I have already changed the fitting on this side to accommodate my fuel line I'm going to use. Under high demand, fuel starvation was a problem with the Carter AFB. Also, Edelbrock sells an adapter for Chrysler applications. This linkage is held on by a nut. Let me turn this sideways so you can see it. Right there. So the adapter for an Edelbrock will not work. However, using parts from an AFB that I kept for parting out, I was able to grind off the pressed shaft and install the real Mopar linkage on this carb easily. So let us go ahead and dig in. I'll pause here while I do some minor disassembly. Okay, quickly here. The step-up spring appears to be a 3HG spring, which for my application would be quite weak and cause problems with the flow. I will replace that with a 5HG spring, which was supplied to me in the carburetor with many other step-up rods and jets. So once again, I'll pause while I continue some minor disassembly, and we'll take a look at some of the other components. Okay, briefly, once again, I have removed the top of the carburetor. I will double check the float adjustments. They do seem to be, they look like they're in pretty decent shape. The interior of the carburetor under first exam, there's a little bit of machining, a little bit of slag left over from the casting process that I think I'll knock out of there just for good measure. Also on these venturis, you can see that there is a little bit left over from the machining process and casting. I'll clean that up with a small file real quick after I remove those, and then I'll continue to disassemble and inspect. So I will return shortly after I do some more disassembly. Okay, so a couple things real quick upon examination. You can see the darker springs I have there are out of an original Carter AFB, very similar in design. I took it apart slightly just to show you. It also has the vacuum operated secondaries, very similar in design, but those are 5HG springs, much different spring design, better for the application I'm going to be using it on. I will not use these old springs. I do have new ones, like I said, that came with this carburetor. It came with pretty much everything you need to tune it except a different accelerator pump nozzle. And here is the nozzle on this one. I did find in the chamber with the ball and weight, the check ball and weight, a small piece of slag that was loose in there. This is a little concerning to me, so I'm glad I disassembled this carburetor. I will further disassemble and attempt to ensure that there is no other little pieces of machining bits left over that could clog a port or cause me any problems. One of the other things that may not be great about this carburetor, the electric choke housing has no index mark. However, that is not that big of a concern. If you've ever worked with heat operated or electric chokes of this style, it's pretty simple to adjust them to the, if you use bring it inside right around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, you should be able to adjust that to where the butterfly is just closed, and that should be your index. From there, you can mark it if you like. Most carburetor applications like this call for it to be set 2 notches rich. I found on my Edelbrock that I am running on my 383 that I have been using for over 10 years, that tends to get a bit tight in the colder weather. So sometimes chokes need adjustment. I still have air operated chokes like this, thermostatic chokes, on much of my equipment here and in many of the other cities that I manage. So typically, depending on temperature swings, weather conditions, that may not be that big of a deal. I had previously removed the idle air screws, found no problem with those. Honestly, for the money, this does not appear to be a bad carburetor. When I get it all put back together, and I will use new gaskets and go through it a little bit, I will install it on my 1966 383 engine, which runs beautifully with an existing Edelbrock carburetor on it. And I'll let you know how that goes. I'll make another video and let you know. But all in all, yeah, they're Chinese made. I'm not a big advocate of Chinese parts. But for the money, I think it'll work. Just from what I can tell so far, everything does appear to be functional. So, I hope this helps. Please have a good day, and I'll be back.